Hello, hello. Welcome. My name is Rose, but I'm just here as a transition into the fantastic, the amazing Drew Bingaman, who is here to talk about and give a fantastic talk on. Welcome. Oh, I didn't mute that. To give a fantastic talk on pirating the Moulton maneuver. Drew, why don't you introduce yourself and let's get started.
My name is Drew Bingaman. I've been a pirate since like late January, so I'm a newcomer to the party. But with that, I spent a long time in the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania, and this is where I bring that knowledge from. Um, the Moulton maneuver, if anybody doesn't know what that is, uh, it's the mechanism by which the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania got 150 members elected in 2021 and about 45 in 2019. So when I left the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania, I was one of about 200-ish elected officials in the state of Pennsylvania. So um, that is what I'm going to be talking about. And yeah. So moving into this, so it's not something that is actually that hard to do. It does take some time and effort, and it also takes a quirk in your election law. Um, it is something that can be replicated on nearly any scale in any state. Some modification may be necessary to the original procedure, depending on timing and election laws in your own state. So, one of the things you need to know is you need to know um, the specific nature of the election laws in your own state and how your timing of primary and um, hey Yari, you're not muted. That's okay. Just your typing was a little distracting there. It is loud. It's cool though. I dig it. I like the loud typing, but it is a little distracting. But that's okay. Um, okay, that's cool. Anyways, a little bit more of my background. I served on the board of the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania in one capacity or another from 2013 to 2020. In that time, I served 2 terms as chair of the LPPA, the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania. So here's the real background and how the Moulton maneuver works. Each year, many elected local officials go unfilled. So many auditors, many constables, many election officials, many council members, even sometimes county positions go unfilled because nobody actually runs for them, and that can be that's problematic in a couple of reasons. Mainly because if it goes unfilled, oftentimes it doesn't go to another election. It just goes to either staying unfilled or it goes to an appointment where higher up elected officials get the chance to appoint those people. And I don't think that's right. It's non-democratic, and it goes towards a lot of nepotism and a lot of family and friends. You know, people that were owed favors get those types of positions when there's no election. So I find it better that we take the opportunity to fill those positions when there is a gap in the ballot and get third party people elected, and in this case, get new pirates elected. The Moulton maneuver was named after Chuck Moulton, who was mostly the brainchild of the entire thing. He was then the elections director of the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania. He thought that the situation with open seats could be an opportunity to get a lot of people elected because not only were the Democrats and Republicans leaving those unfilled, a lot of A lot of times, libertarians and other third parties were leaving those positions unfilled on the ballot. Um, and that's what I said about 2019. The LPPA used a partial strategy and got about 40 new people, sort of as a test proof of concept, elected that year. Um, so, one of the things that makes this possible is in Pennsylvania, there's a significant amount of time between our primary, which is in May, for years when local elections are held, and the deadline to file as a third party for ballot access, which is always pretty much August 1st. So that leaves about 6 week window to do the legwork to get candidates nominated and submit paperwork to the local boards of election. As soon as the primary election has been certified, each county publishes their results. Now, again, this is something that might be different in each state, depending on where you are, and obviously the timing part can be different of when your primary is versus the November election. So to take advantage of this, what you need to do is you need to get your county by county election results. And it's going to depend obviously where you have people. If you only have people in a few counties, or in a few key locations that actually can organize to get this done, focus on those locations. So get those county by county results. Find out, by reviewing those and any write-ins, you can determine where there will be nobody on the ballot in November. That's the first thing you need to make note of. What positions are wide open? Because if you get somebody on the ballot for November on that position, you are almost assured to win that position. Second, as I said a few minutes ago, define your audience. Define who you're going to target for filling these positions. This might be your first step. If you're not going statewide, who will you be targeting? Will you just be targeting members of your local party, people on your list? Are you going to take parts of your voter lists of people that are not registered Democrat or Republican? So any independent or third party voters are you gonna solicit? This is something that's completely up to you of who you're going to solicit to fill these roles. And so you can cut down, like I said, you can cut down on work in finding the open positions by focusing your target areas if you're not going statewide. So then what you want to do is you want to cross-reference your target audience with those open seats. So finding those open seats and finding people that could potentially fill those seats. A lot of local seats are filled by districts and wards. So you need to find people that are in those same districts and wards that can be elected to those positions. Some city seats are elected at large, so anybody that lives in that municipality can be elected to those positions. So that's another thing you need to know. You need to know the boundaries of each position that might be open. And those are things that you should be able to find from your local board of elections. And it is a very good idea to get a good relationship with your local board of elections if you're going to be running candidates. And I highly recommend that you run candidates. So finding out who these people are, and who you're going to target, who your target audience is for a letter, or some other form of contact, preferably a mailed letter, because you can then send along with that letter any paperwork that they need to fill out and sign. And this can be actually mostly something that you can be done from your home office. and sent out, and then help people over the phone or over the internet. So finally, you want to draft that letter. Draft the letter that explains that, hey, in your city or in your town, there is an auditor position that's open, and we see that you've been um, registered a pirate for however long, doesn't matter. Um, but would you be interested in running for this position? If you are, here is the paperwork, and here's how to fill that paperwork. And if you have questions, here is the contact. Um, you can do this as a statewide, from the state party, or you can do it from your local affiliates. And obviously, your scope is a lot smaller if you're doing it from your local affiliate. Um, and the burden on one person answering questions and helping people get their paperwork together and in proper order is um, a lot easier if you're doing it in a smaller scope. Um, and also, you're going to be sending out a lot less letters if you're doing it from a local perspective. So, um, that goes to another point here is you need to know how to get people on the ballot in your area. So in Pennsylvania, there is a single form that you put that you collect signatures for. Most of these local and municipal uh, positions require 10 to 25 signatures in the specific area. So it's not real difficult to get that done in 6 weeks for and it obviously there's going to be some delay because it takes some time to get the first part done and you get the letters out. But that being said, it's still not that difficult to get 10 to 25 signatures in a matter of a couple of weeks. So that being said, you need to know what paperwork is required in your state, what you need to file, and preferably send that same paperwork along with your solicitation letter to your potential candidates. Um, and I think you're also going to find that your response rate is going to be a lot better if you attach the paperwork and make it real easy for them. You can actually pre-fill some of that paperwork so that basically all they got to do is collect signatures and sign. Now, again, that's going to depend on your specific state election laws, and how that's all going to work out. Pardon me. So the other thing that's really nice about the Moulton maneuver is it can be used as a recruiting tool to identify people who may not be interested in being elected officials, but it gets you contact with people. So say at the bottom of your letter you can say if you're not interested in participating as a candidate, we are also accepting donations to help offset the cost of the project. Or if you just want to donate, or if you would like to volunteer in any other aspect, here's how you do it. So it's kind of like one of those things where if you're going to be sending letters out to people in your area or in your state, might as well make the most of it. So this is basically. Sorry, I have a cat that's getting a little needy right now. So this is the basic strategy of what it takes to do a version of the Moulton maneuver in your state. And here I have a bit of a quick list of more of what you really need. First thing is you need volunteers. You need volunteers who can support new potential candidates and help them with their paperwork. You also need people who are knowledgeable in your state election laws and the process by which you get people on the ballot in your state. You need to get a You want to get a copy of voter registration in your state. This usually is not very expensive. This is like you can usually get an electronic copy in Pennsylvania. I think it's $20. And in other states, that may be completely different. Um, there are different services that can also fill you in with phone numbers and email addresses that might be a whole lot easier to contact people. Um, and you also are going to need a mailing budget. Now, again, this is going to be your biggest expense monetarily to pull this off, and that really is going to vary widely depending on how many letters you intend to send out. And you know, this is where we went. This is where the difference between 40 and 150 elected officials in 2019 and 2021. It was really just the volume of letters that we sent out was what was the difference in the success rate, and that really just goes back to um, what your response rate is. So yeah. Um, so to sum this all up, what you need in your state is a gap of time between your primary and your November election to be able to find unfilled seats at the local level that are not going to have anybody on the ballot in November unless a third party or independent fills that seat. Um, and then the person that gets on the ballot is most likely going to be elected. That's the very key item to the whole thing. Having enough time to get this all together, get this off the ground, and get it to happen, um, is what allows this to happen. And I know a lot of states have been having earlier and earlier primaries. Some of them it's only in presidential years. Um, and you might also elect local officials in presidential years. Pennsylvania does not do that. But again, knowing how your elections happen and knowing how you get people on the ballot is a second key piece of information. Third is finding your target audience for candidacies and then getting out there and contacting them. Um, Most of the time, your candidates themselves should be capable of handling their small amount of signatures. Now, unless you're in a state that requires a whole lot more effort to get on the ballot, you'll need to specify that they need to contact the party to see about getting help with getting on the ballot. Um, so that's also something that you'll need to decide ahead of time. And I'd say that is really the core of the Moulton maneuver. Identifying open seats, knowing how you get people on the ballot, finding those people that could be your next elected pirates, and sending them letters and recruiting them to fill out the paperwork and get on the ballot. That's as quick and easy as I can put it. So, if there are any questions out there, Yari, are you still listening with me?
I am still here with you. Yes, absolutely. Hang on, let me adjust things a bit. Thank you so much for telling us about this. Let me make sure everything's set up. Yep, we are good. Really appreciate everyone coming out and listening about this with us. And thank you so much, Drew, for sharing your knowledge about the Moulton maneuver with us. So yeah, questions in chat for Drew, discussion points, things that you want Drew to elaborate on, perhaps. Let's get those in the chat and tell us what you want to hear Drew talk about with this. the time is now. Let's see. Tips for doing this where there isn't yet a formal pirate presence.
Well, that I would say if you're going to be kind of handling this on your own, find your scope. Like if it's going to be your town, if it's going to be your local area, if you're in a big city, your local ward or local precinct, um, and then basically just use the same steps. And this could be a very good tool if you're the type of person that is also willing to help organize a formal pirate presence. You'll get people that are interested then. Now, the second part of that is when you're looking at the voter registration. If there isn't a whole lot of pirate presence in your area, you're going to want to look at independents. You're going to want to look at possibly libertarians or greens. You're going to look for anything else that's not affiliated, and you can filter that stuff out once you get a copy of the once you get a copy of the voter registration database. You can find people and their addresses. And the other advantage of doing it more locally, you're more likely to be able to get those people together and meet up with those people to help them get going. If you are new at this, you definitely you're gonna need to get in contact with your local board of elections though to find out how do we get people on the ballot. How does a third party get people on the ballot in your state? That more than anything is what is going to either make or break this whole thing.
Yeah. Had a question earlier when we were talking about those the deadlines for filing for the when we were thinking about when you're thinking about the other groups that are trying to get candidates in, and when you're trying to look for those empty spots. Question about where do we go out to find those deadlines in our own states? So if there's like specific resources that you tend to look at, or specific places that
usually there's two main sources that are going to be to find those things. Your election dates should be part of your Department of State website. There should be an election dates or like an elections section in your Department of State. If you can't find that there, look to your local Board of Elections or voter registration office at your county level. They should also have everything you need information-wise with dates, especially with filing dates. Your local Board of Elections is usually where you're going to go for these local offices. So they're going to know the dates. They're going to know what paperwork you're going to need. They may be not sure. They may not be sure. I've had that happen in the past where they're not used to working with third parties, and so they need to actually contact some higher ups and find out some things, especially with paperwork. But the filing deadlines should be readily available from those two offices, the local Board of Elections / voter registration office, or the Department of State in your state.
I have a question from Miles about, so it says, do you strategically target marginal or weak seats, or target seats based on where your candidates are strong?
Well, in the case of the Moulton maneuver, what we do is we find the seats that are not that isn't weak. There's nobody there. There is nobody on the ballot. So unless somebody mounts a strong write-in campaign, the people that are the person that gets put on the ballot, and hopefully it's by somebody that we're working with, is going to win that seat. Talking about if you want to go that question is a little bit more of a wider elections question, and that you know different people have different opinions on that. But for the Moulton maneuver, you're specifically targeting seats that did not get filled in the primaries. So that means neither a Democrat or Republican, or in some cases, actually most of the time in cases where there's an open primary, that is the way to get on the ballot. So that this is not necessarily going to work. You can modify this if it is an open primary state where the only way to get on the ballot is to win the primary. If you can find the primary ballot prior, because there's a deadline that you have to file your candidacy, and they can give you a list of what the primary ballot's going to look like, and you can find those seats that are not even filled in the primary, and kind of mount a write-in campaign, which can work very well in an unfilled primary seat if you get some people out and at the polls handing out business cards. So hopefully that answered the question. I'd do my best.
Yeah. Further questions or points of discussion? I think what I'm curious about is just if you've ever had a incidents where you sort of got a candidate in, and sort of through this maneuver, and then that brought recognition enough that some sort of write-in candidate or other candidate from one of the two main parties in the U.S. came in because of that.
We have had instances where people have, after the fact, that once we have filed in an open seat, that people have mounted write-in campaigns. But I suspect that those people were planning on mounting a write-in campaign anyway, whether they're Democrats or Republicans for these local seats. I don't know that I can specifically say that there was a reaction to our putting somebody on the ballot for this. You always are going to get some publicity in the local media, just because you put somebody on the ballot. Because anytime a third party puts somebody on the ballot, the local media thinks it's like an amazing, incredible thing. So, they still might run you down because, we're pirates. But you're still going to get media. And once you are on the ballot, you're legit. You can go out there and definitely, get on local radio shows, get on your newspaper interviews, things like that. Then you're in a campaign. You're in a campaign then, and obviously campaigning is going to depend on, if a potential write-in does pop up. But even in those cases, honestly, very few people are willing to actually write in on a regular basis. If you're on the ballot, you're going to get way more votes. It's just that simple.
Mm-hmm. We have another question from Viking. What is the general strategic goal of this maneuver? Is it name recognition, increasing general influence, or something else?
Well, the goal is to get people elected at the grassroots level, to show that the people with our values and our non-Democrat Republican name next to that brand next to our name can win elections. A lot of people will tell you if you're out there campaigning as a pirate, people are going to tell you that you can't win because you're a third party. Third parties can't win. but it's to get people elected to the base level, which, down the line, once you've been an elected official, you have way more weight in your next election cycle to actually go after more of a contested race. You can say, well, I've been serving the community here as an elected official for the last 4 years or for the last 2 years, or, whatever it might be. Um, Gives you a whole lot more credibility going into a higher election. Um, let's call it building the farm team. Uh, and we are a ground up organization, and we got to get people elected from the ground up. And once we start getting people elected uh, at the base level, where it's really easy to get elected, and we can show that we're not crazy in those in the filling those roles. We are here to serve the community in those roles. Um, that that electing a pirate to a higher office is not quite as crazy as it sounds, and that gives you the weight, that gives you the that just really shows that it's not as ridiculous a notion as a lot of people will think at first glance. So then we move on and we start winning higher up elections, and then from there, next thing you know, you'll have somebody in your state house. So it's a place to start.
Absolutely. I'm not seeing any further questions in chat right away, but if anyone has a last minute thing, we're happy to get to that. I don't know, Drew, is there any final stuff you want to wrap up with, or if there's anything you want to, I mean, we got plenty of time, so.
Yeah, I don't really think so. I think I've covered it. It's not a super complicated thing. There are some specific steps that you need to take. And you need to plan. You really need, the biggest thing is just planning far enough ahead and having the people and the knowledge at your state level of how things work in your state in order to see about maybe fitting it in. And honestly, I would be happy to work with anybody that is looking at trying to shoehorn this strategy into their state. Now, I'd be glad to get on a Jitsi or a Zoom meeting or whatever to talk with people to help them through it. But again, you need to know your local election laws and the process of how you get on the ballot, and what where your deadlines are for everything, so that you can make sure you're not missing those. So, but yeah, I'd be glad to help. Anybody who wants to mount one of these, Mitch, if you in Chicagoland want to try this, I'll be glad to help you.
Speaking of all that, I mean, of course, you mentioned Mitch. We have Mitch and Ethan both running races right now, but I want to ask you, where can people find you if they want to contact you to ask for your help with this, or if they just want to learn more about what you're doing with the Pennsylvania Pirates, if they want to see more of your stuff?
Well, you can find our website at papirates.org, just like uspirates.org. You can email me at captain@papirates.org, or you can send a message to info@papirates.org. I'm on Facebook. You can just find me as Drew Bingaman. I'm not very much on Twitter. I have a Twitter account, but that's honestly it's not really my place. So I'm not super active there. I am on the USPP Discord as Druish High Priest. Let's see, what else do I have? I have a lot of things. Those are the main ways to get a hold of me.
Okay. Cool. Seeing no further questions, thank you so much, Drew, for instructing us on this, and just Congrats.
Oh, and just so everybody knows,
Yeah.
I'm gonna tidy this up and get this to Yari here, so that it's gonna go up as a post on the uspirates.org.
Yes.
So you can just so
You
you don't
can-
have to come back and listen to the whole talk. You can take that and download it and take it with you, and present it to whoever else might be interested in your state.
We will have quick reference available for you so that you can quickly look into that and figure out exactly what you need to do to make the same sort of thing happen.
Then I will make sure that I have my those contact emails in that document.
Good. Okay, cool. That's it for that. We will see you again tomorrow. I will be here at 7 Eastern talking about digital hygiene and personal cybersecurity. And then again on Thursday. When are we here on Thursday? I know what we're doing on Thursday. There we go. I got the schedule right here. Thursday at 9 Eastern. We have the future of our labor rights happening here as well, of course. All of the meetings are happening here. Very exciting. So be sure to be here for both of those and then every day after that until we end on Sunday. So exciting stuff. Hope to see you all tomorrow and the next day and the next day. Thank you so much, Drew. Let's all give thanks to Drew in chat, and we'll see y'all later.
All right. Thanks, everybody.